Welcome, friends. My name is Mariana Svarnik, and we are here in our last recorded session of this Introduction to Sahaja series. So we'll talk a bit and then meditate on our seventh energy center today, the topmost energy center. And starting the new year, we will still continue these sessions here on the same link for some time, but they will not be recorded. So you will see the topics will appear in the calendar, and you will still receive the reminder that you have been receiving for these sessions. And then we'll see how it goes. We can still continue in January. And then at some point, we will see what other offerings there are and adjust accordingly. So the seventh energy center is the topmost energy center. There is a hand up. So Warren, if you want to just use the chat to send a message, that will work. It's a little bit tricky to unmute in the webinar format. All right. If you have any questions at any point, please feel free to put them in the chat. Or if you have any questions later, please feel free to email me. I always try to respond, even if not always immediately. So the seventh energy center. No worries. The seventh energy center is the topmost energy center, and the Sanskrit name for it is the Sahasrara chakra, which means the chakra or the energy center with 1,000 petals. It often is referred to poetically as the 1,000-petaled lotus, right? As the flower that blooms on top of our head. And you can see here that usually we indicate the quality of this energy center is the quality of integration. Now, and it is integration in several different ways. So in the most sort of profound way, I will start with the most profound. It is an integration of our own being, our spiritual being, especially into the divine presence, right? Into the all-pervading energy. So in the same way that our spirit is the spark of the divine presence, of the sort of the universal spirit, our energy is a reflection or the spark of the universal energy. Once our energy, together with our spirit, establish in this energy center, it establishes our connection with the all-pervading energy, and eventually our integration into the all-pervading energy, and also the supreme spirit, or the absolute spirit. Now, our connection is mostly a little loose, right? So we are sort of connected here and then not connected here. We are connected for 2 minutes, 5 minutes, maybe half an hour, and then we become disconnected, and then connect a little bit for some time. And sometimes we connect when we sit to meditate. Sometimes we sort of spontaneously connect when we go about our day, and we start feeling the flow of energy spontaneously and things like that. But most of the time we are not fully connected all the time, right? And so this is something that eventually, as our meditation grows deeper and deeper, we are striving to integrate more and more into that all-pervading energy. And what that means also, that we are striving to be more and more aware of what is the plan, the divine plan, and we are striving to be able to follow the role that we have in that plan. And as you meditate, especially if you meditate regularly, and especially if you meditate in your local community, you will notice that there will be these all kinds of little things happening where often, even without us being fully aware of what is happening, we end up being instrumental in amazing ways, especially for other people who also meditate. So sometimes you're just going somewhere and you don't really know why you're going there. You just feel like going, and it ends up, finding somebody who was lost, and then you pick them up and help them out, and things like that, right? These are just sort of superficial kinds of examples, but this has happened many times. And so you sort of become connected in the whole system of the energies and of other people who meditate, right? And a lot of these kinds of the little signs of our connection appear. Now, the connection still might be quite loose, but we are aiming to deepen our connection. And so this is the most profound way in which this Sahasrara chakra integrates our being into the universal being and into the sort of the totality of universal being. And that includes other people, especially people who have their self-realization, people who also meditate in the same way, but also beyond other people. Now, another way in which this seventh energy center is the center of integration is that in this sort of top part of the brain, or the limbic area of the brain, and generally sort of the top part of the inner part of the brain. And forgive me, I'm terrible at anatomy, so I can't give you any more specifics. We have the projections of all other energy centers. So and these projections of energy centers that we have, especially around this, like the center point, which is the projection of the heart chakra, so sort of going all around a little bit, sort of down to the ears here with the Svadhisthana chakras, the very back of the head with Muladhara projection, the first energy center, right? And then the nabis are here, and the heart is there. Vishuddhi is right at the fifth energy center is right at the sort of where the hair starts, and then Agya is still here. So all of this together forms this Sahasrara chakra, or better to say that our Sahasrara chakra contains these projections of all other energy centers. But those are not just any projections. They're not like projections on our hands. The projections on our hands are just the reflection of the chakras in the body, right? Energy centers in the body. But these projections here, they're not even really projections. They're sort of like control centers. They are the seeds. And so they really control the behavior of the other chakras. And so ultimately, when all of this is sort of clear and properly open, and the energy is flowing through properly, then there are no issues in any of the other centers. Because this sort of works like a vacuum, right? And whatever issue there is, if this energy center is open, they're just being sucked out and neutralized by this the all-pervading energy through that connection that we have and through that integration that we have. Now, we're not there yet, mostly, but sometimes we are more there than other days. And some days we really, really feel good and feel a lot of this being sort of open and cool. So that's another way in which it integrates. And then there is a sort of part of that is also a third way that in which this Sahasrara chakra, the topmost energy center, integrates our own being. And so, as I mentioned, right in the center, right in this point where our Kundalini comes out, this is the projection of the heart chakra. And so the heart chakra itself has, or the subtle of the heart, sort of the subtle being of the heart organ, right? If we can say so, is the actual control center for this Sahasrara chakra. It is in the very center here, and it is controlled from the actual heart in our body, right? But in a subtle manifestation of our heart. And so this is why we pay always so much attention to our heart in this meditation, because if our heart is pure, and we mean it in that spiritual quality of our heart, the subtle quality of our heart, if our heart is open, if there is no malice in our heart, if there is no evil thoughts or evil tendencies, either towards others or towards ourselves, this kind of a heart is the heart that once it sort of is connected with our inner energy, and through the flow of the energy is brought up here, this is a kind of person that never encounters any issues with meditation and with in their spiritual path, because it is really the heart that fuels the whole system for us. And so the third kind of integration that happens here is the integration between our heart, in a spiritual sense, our spirit, our sort of the core of our being in that sense, which is the essence or the main organ, we can say, spiritually speaking, of the left channel, the brain itself, that is the main organ of the central channel, and the attention, or that sort of is supported by the liver, which is the main organ of the right channel, right? But it is also manifests here and comes, all of those become integrated in this topmost energy center. The key thing in this is that the heart is actually the king of our being, or should be the ruler of our being. It is the spirit, our own spirit, that originally resides in the heart, and through this self-realization is brought to the crown chakra, to the topmost energy center, and is established there. Once that spirit, or the heart, really rules our being, rules our mind, rules our attention, this is when our self-realization really becomes established. This is when our connection from being loose connection becomes a real connection. And so this is why we often come back to the heart, and we often put our hand on the heart and do this affirmation, I am the spirit, on the heart, because it is ultimately the heart that will bring us into the proper blossoming of this energy center, and of our integration of our own being, and integration of our being into the universal being. Now, there aren't really sort of, by itself, there aren't really any problems in this energy center, in the seventh energy center. If there are any, they will come from the other centers. But this center can become blocked if we ignore the spiritual path, right? If we turn away from it, if we value other things more than the spiritual path, or if we identify with things that are not true, with practices that are not true, and things like that, that will tend to block our energy center, this topmost energy center. There is another aspect of of this energy center, which I'm not going to talk about because this is sort of at the next level, and we would need to sort of gradually talk about actual spiritual aspects of all other energy centers to be able to talk about the deepest spiritual aspect of this this Sahasrara chakra. But it has to do with the reality that this energy center here was only properly opened out in 1970. And this is how this meditation has started. We take start from the opening of this energy center. And it is this the initial opening of this energy center at this different level, you could say the universal level, that made it possible for us to get our self-realization sitting in front of the screen. Instead of going for years and years and years of and lifetimes of penance and purification, and only then maybe getting the realization, maybe not getting, right? So it has to do, the special recognition of this energy center has to do with this universal opening of the Sahasrara chakra that happened in 1970. So I think this is sort of enough of me talking. We can have a meditation, and let's see how things go with meditation today. And as usual, if there are any questions, feel free to put them in the chat, and I'll address them after the meditation. So we will all together raise the energy. I won't play the video, we'll just do it by ourselves. So the left hand will be going up, the right hand rotates around the left hand. And when we reach the top of the head, we rotate a few more times, tie a knot. Second time, we will tie 2 knots on top of the head. And the third time, we'll tie 3 knots. All right. Now we'll place our left hand open on our lap. The right hand goes to the left side of our body, our sort of area of left hip. And then we go over top of the head to the right, all the way down and back. And try to do this with full attention. Try to reach all the way as far as you can go, both on the right and on the left. Do this 7 times. If you do more, that's fine. If you do less, that's also not any major problem. All right. Now we can start with placing both of our hands open on our lap. Place our feet flat on the ground if you're sitting on a chair or any sort of raised surface. In which case, place them slightly apart from each other. If you're sitting cross-legged on the floor, you don't need to worry about that. Just sit naturally. Now we can close our eyes and what I want us to do to really give justice to our Sahasrara chakra, to the topmost energy center. I want us to find inside ourselves that desire, that pure desire, the one that pushes us to keep meditating, to keep learning about meditation. That desire that pushes us to become better, to become the most that we can be. Let's see whether we can identify that desire. It might have been maybe almost by accident that we found this meditation and started meditating. But there was something that brought us, something inside us. It really helps if we come back to that desire and come back to it with gratitude, to that part of us that pushed us. That same desire is what will help us grow more. We can ask our inner energy, our Kundalini, "Oh Mother, please strengthen my pure desire." Please let me feel that this desire is important. It is not like my other daily desires. It is different. It is special. Let's see whether we can feel how just putting attention on that desire, just looking for it, expressing that we want it to be stronger, how our attention immediately goes to the top of the head and settles on top of the head, settles in this Sahasrara chakra, the topmost energy center. Oh Mother, for now, please remove all of my other desires, all of my other wants. And please let me put my full attention, full dedication to this one pure desire. If we are still a little bit distracted, if our thoughts are still coming in, we can take our right hand, massage the top of our head clockwise, just loosening up a little bit anything that might be still blocking this energy center. Oh, Mother, please completely establish my self-realization. Mother, please help my spirit really awaken, really open out, and become the true ruler of my whole being. Please let my attention and my mind be completely surrendered to my spirit. Now we can slowly bring our hand back on our lap. And now we'll just sit for a few minutes in silence with our attention on this Sahasrara chakra, the topmost energy center. We don't need to do anything, we just need to stay in our Sahasrara, and at some point we get to the point that we really enjoy that flow of energy through the top of the head and that pure space there on top of the head, without any thoughts, without any distractions. And if we spend some time, we really might feel how this area opens out more, as if the petals of this energy center are opening out more. Now I'll play a piece of music which is a bit different from what I usually play. It has a vocal part to it. See whether you can listen to that, not with your ears, but with your Sahasrara chakra. Whether you can just listen to it with the top of your head.
तुझको प्रणाम, तुझको प्रणाम। चरणों में तेरे सातों धाम, सातों धाम, तुझको प्रणाम, योगदायिनी माँ, तुझको प्रणाम, तुझको प्रणाम, तुझको प्रणाम।
Can stay in silence for a few more minutes. Any point if you feel you're distracted, you're thinking, remember that pure desire. Put all of your attention on that pure desire and all of your gratitude to that part of yourself that is pushing you on this path. If you feel any tightness or any constriction anywhere along your spine, any energy center, you can just put your right hand there and ask your inner energy to clear it out. And then once that's cleared out, you can bring your attention back to the top of the head. Now we can keep our right hand open on our lap, and we'll place our left hand on the left side of our head, sort of on the, from the left temple or above the left ear and up. And this is where our ego is. The ending of our right channel is on the left side of our head. So we can ask here our inner energy, our Kundalini, oh Mother, please completely dissolve my ego. Please remove that barrier, that false identification that does not allow me to achieve the integration into the all-pervading power. Please remove that false idea of I-ness. And instead, please make me innocent, like a small child who does not yet have an ego, and instead who can just enjoy everything. All right, very good. We'll place our hand back on our lap. And see whether the flow of energy on top of the head has improved a little bit. If there is some tension on the right side of the head, we can put our right hand on the right side of the head, so above the right ear, the right ear and right temple. And here we can ask, oh Mother, please remove all of my conditionings. All of my cultural beliefs, if they prevent me from fully integrating into the universal energy. All right, very good. Now we'll place our right hand in the center of our head. Press it a little bit on top of the head. Now we can lift our hand slowly and let's see whether we feel the cool breeze coming from the top of the head. Might also feel it in the other hand that's open on our lap. All right, very good. And place our hand back on our lap. And let's enjoy a couple more minutes of this silence. All right, we can slowly open our eyes. And let's raise our energy all together. So the left hand is going up, the right hand is rotating around. And on top of the head, we rotate more, tie a knot. Second time, 2 knots. The third time, 3 knots. All right, now the protection, the bandhan we call it in Sanskrit. The left hand is open on the lap, and then we go with our right hand from our left hip over top of the head and all the way down to the right and back. About 7 times. the last time when you're on the left, you don't have to go back to the right. You can just leave your hand on the left. Now I hope you did have a bit of an experience of the beauty of this Sahasrara chakra. There is really very little that we need to do in order for this chakra to stay open. And it's more about actually just not doing things that are harmful to ourselves mainly, and also to others. And so and being alert about what it is that we do, what it is that we want, what thoughts come into our attention. Are any of these thoughts actually really no good, right? And do we need to get rid of those? And then you can always look a little bit and see, okay, where is the source of those thoughts? Is there any particular energy center that is producing these kinds of thoughts? And by staying alert and by keeping that pure desire on, and keeping attention on the pure desire, making sure that we give enough of our time to that desire as opposed to everything else. And I'm not saying that we should stop living our lives. No. We should continue living lives and full lives as much as possible, but making sure that we do make space for that, and that we are aware that this requires space. It needs to grow. That's all that is really required for this energy center to stay open. And if it becomes closed up, and we just need to, again, sit down, put attention inside, raise our energy, and give it some time, clear our system, do our food soak regularly, and that will start opening out again. Now, this will be a little bit of a shorter session today, because Sahasrara really is everything, but at the same time, it is very, very straightforward and very, very simple in its own way. And by keeping our other energy centers clean, especially our heart chakra, the left aspect of the heart, here where the spirit resides, that is what really helps this chakra the most. So with this, we conclude our recorded part of the series. Next week, we will actually have a session about the central channel. This is something that we didn't talk much about in this recorded part yet. And it has a lot of similarities in a way with the topmost energy center, because the central channel is really not something that you can balance. It is the essence of balance itself. So if we keep our left and our right quite intact and balanced, then the center one will be quite happy. But we'll talk a little bit more about the role of that central channel, and how it functions, and how we can support it. And then we'll have a meditation as usual. So all the best to all of you. As usual, if you have any questions, feel free to ask now or to ask later. So there is a question: if I feel that I can't discontinue my other meditation technique, is it still fine to keep practicing Sahaja Yoga meditation? You can keep practicing, but you might not be feeling the same results. Like you might not be feeling the same clarity of things, right? And so ultimately you'll need to ask yourself, okay, why is it that you need this meditation if the other meditation is working well for you, right? And if there is something missing in the other meditation, then why do you need to keep doing that as opposed to just switching to this one and see whether it actually fills the role of both, right? But yeah, so I think ultimately that's the answer to that I could come up with. But there will be often some discord that will be created by practicing different forms of meditation. And so that discord, you might not sort of realize where it's coming from, but this is where it will be coming from. That what you're trying to achieve as one is going to be very different from what you're trying to achieve as the other one. And so they will clash. And then it might actually not do you any good, neither for one practice nor for the other practice. So yeah. All right, friends. So we will see you next time. I wish you a very, very joyful new year and all the best in the new year. It's really nice that we could sort of complete this before the new year, so the new year can be the next level, let's say, of growing, right, and of going deeper. There is still a lot that we do not touch in these introductory sessions that we can do in the Sahaja practice. And if you have the desire to go for these sort of next kind of levels, at some point we will be probably coming back to doing our advanced sort of round of sessions. We are not sure when exactly it's going to be, but in the meantime, something that is special about the Sahaja practice is that in this area of what we call as void area, where the guru principle resides and becomes established with meditation, we have stored all the knowledge that is required for us to go as deep and as far as we need. So basically, we don't really need anybody from outside to tell us. You don't really need me to guide your meditation. At the beginnings, just to sort of to clear a path a little bit, it is important to meditate, to have somebody else sort of share the possibilities of how we can do this, how we can balance our system. But ultimately, everything that you need is already inside. It is important to meditate collectively for this particular energy center, right? Because without meditating collectively, this center suffers quite a bit. And yet, everything else, every knowledge, every understanding, every answer to any question is within there. It might sometimes take a little bit of time for you to get that answer, but it is there. And so that's the beauty, that you don't really need to depend on somebody else for you to understand what it is that you need to do, what it is that will help you specifically today, and it will be something different from what will help you tomorrow or from what helped you yesterday, and that's all available to you. So there is a question about recordings of the previous sessions. I sent in all the previous sort of newsletter messages that I have sent, I've sent the link to the playlist that contains all the previous recordings in this series. And then if you want to find any more, can just the link will take you to the playlist in the YouTube channel, in our YouTube channel, and then you can go to the channel itself and find other recordings also not from this series. All right, so this ended up being as long as everything else. So all the best again. Enjoy the new year, and we will see you next year.